Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So if you follow the vegan news, or if you have some anti-vegan friends or family members that love to forward you anti-vegan headlines on your Facebook feed, you've probably seen this story going around, how vegans and vegetarians are more likely to be depressed. Furthermore, that eating meat actually improves your mental health. So yes, the mainstream media is always very receptive for studies like this, ones that try to show that vegan diets are bad for you or unhealthy. Basically, it's,
ha ha, take that vegans, the doctor said meat's healthy for me.
So as I'll show you here, the study's conclusion doesn't really say exactly what the mainstream media is saying, and furthermore, we'll see, there's some questionable sources of funding for the study. But anyway, let's take a look at it. So here's a study called Meat and Mental Health, a systematic review of meat abstention and depression, anxiety, and related phenomenon. So the study concludes that those who avoided meat consumption, that's vegans and vegetarians, had significantly higher rates or risk of depression, anxiety, and or self-harm behaviors. And they say that our study does not support meat avoidance as a strategy to benefit psychological health. So let's jump in and look at the details of this study. I want to state up front, I'm not placing any value judgment on this, but it was not a clinical trial. It's a meta-analysis, and that's just fine. So let's look at what they did here. They found 18 existing studies in which the studies looked at people who didn't eat meat versus those who did eat meat. And these studies also measured psychological factors like depression, mood, and so on. So what these new researchers did was compile these 18 studies and ran a meta-analysis and got these shocking conclusions that vegans and vegetarians are more likely to be depressed. Well, let's see what they really learned from the study. Can they state that there's a causal relationship, that if you go vegan or vegetarian, that's more likely to cause you to become depressed? No. Let's have a look as to why. So not to get too nerdy or techy, but 16 of the 18 studies are known what are cross-sectional studies, which are not clinical trials or anything like that. As the name kind of sounds, cross-sectional, it's like just taking a moment in time, a snapshot of a moment of time. And you can't make any judgments of what happened later on in the future or prior to that, because it's just one moment in time where they answered questions, most likely a questionnaire. So since these cross-sectional studies were only looking at one moment in time, you can't draw any cause and effect conclusions, because in order to do so, you need to have a before and after. Something causes something happen later on in the future. And the authors are well aware of this fact, and they clearly state that across all studies, there was no evidence to support a causal relationship between the consumption or avoidance of meat and any psychological outcomes. Also, since these are cross-sectional studies, it's a fact that some patients were depressed before going vegan, or some people chose to go vegetarian as a way to try to improve their depressed mental states. But still, mainstream media has these shocking headlines about how eating meat may actually improve your mental health. So much for reading the actual studies. However, 2 of these 18 studies covered in this meta-analysis were not cross-sectional. One was even a randomized controlled trial, which found that vegetarians compared to omnivores had better psychological mood states, better moods. So here's this 2012 study entitled Restriction of Meat, Fish, and Poultry in Omnivores Improves Mood, a pilot randomized controlled trial. And they conclude restricting meat, fish, and poultry improved some domains of short-term mood state in modern omnivores, far from causing the vegetarians to become more depressed. In this online interview with SciPost, the authors of this study, at least to me, quite clearly show their anti-vegan biases with statements like this, that vegan and strict vegetarian diets may lead to nutrient deficiencies that increase the risk of mental illness. Well, if this were your typical anti-vegan YouTuber saying this, I would say citation needed, please. So I went into their study here and found the reference that they made to vegan diets being nutritionally deficient. It didn't say anything about that deficiency leading to mental illness. But anyway, let's check out this study that they refer to, which they believe is their strongest case for vegetarian and vegan diets leading to nutritional deficiencies. So this study says that a vegetarian diet can be nutritionally adequate for adults, children, and can promote health and lower the risk of major chronic diseases. Sounds to me a lot like the official position of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, that vegan and vegetarian diets are nutritionally adequate for all people in all phases of life. But let's continue on. It says that the nutrients of concern in the diet of vegetarians include vitamin B12, vitamin D, omega fatty acids, calcium, iron, and zinc. Although, sounds like something bad might be coming here, although a vegetarian diet can meet current recommendations for all these nutrients, so it's not inherently deficient, according to this study that they're using to try to say vegan diets and vegetarian diets are inherently deficient. The use of supplements and fortified foods provides a useful shield against deficiency. So let's go back and see exactly what the authors of this current study said. Did they say that vegan or vegetarian diets are inherently nutritionally deficient? No, they didn't really say that. They just said that people who abstain from eating meat may develop nutritional deficiencies. So I want everyone to pay close attention to their wording here. It's not that vegans or vegetarians are more likely to become nutritionally deficient. They didn't even give a probability like over 50% or 97%, nothing like that. They just said that those who abstain from meat may be nutritionally deficient. Even if, say, like one fraction of 1% of vegans or vegetarians are nutritionally deficient, that statement would be true because, yeah, they may be. You just need some to become nutritionally deficient. Well, again, I want to show you how weak of a statement this is because people on any diet may be nutritionally deficient, such as people who are not vegans and vegetarians. Almost every single American, 97 to 98% of all Americans, are deficient in, say, potassium and fiber. So anyway, let's get back to this interview in which the authors of the study clearly reveal their anti-vegan, pro-meat biases. And this quote here, guys, is just golden. Check it out. It says, our study provides further evidence that because humans are omnivores. Wait, let me just stop you there. The goal of your study wasn't to argue that humans are omnivores. You were just looking at dietary patterns and correlating that with mental states of like mood, anxiety, and such. So this is an assumption. You're assuming humans are omnivores. And by assuming that to be true, it reveals your biases here, that humans should be eating meat and should not be abstaining from meat. Anyway, let's continue on. It's illogical, really, it's illogical and potentially unhealthy to recommend eating a varied diet in which you don't eat a long list of foods such as meat, eggs, and cholesterol. Oh, really? So you think that this study, which you guys admitted cannot show cause and effect, it's just a snapshot in time. So you're telling people that you have enough proof here from this meta-analysis, which cannot show any causality, that people shouldn't give up eating foods that, say, the World Health Organization has proclaimed to be group 1 and class 2A carcinogens, or cholesterol-containing foods. It's perfectly fine to eat those. Really, what kind of biases do you guys really have? So at this point, all the red flags are going off. I head to the end of the study where the authors are supposed to disclose any conflicts of interest, and they claim there are none, which I find really, really hard to believe because if you look at the sources of funding for the study, there's an unrestricted grant of funding from the Beef Checkoff Program. And let's talk a little bit about what the Beef Checkoff Program is. It's basically a marketing agency for meat. It's designed to stimulate restaurants and grocery stores to sell more beef and stimulate consumers to buy more beef. And furthermore, the Beef Checkoff Program increases profit opportunities for producers by keeping beef top of mind with consumers, restaurants, butchers, and other food retailers. So, it's no surprise that if this is who is funding this study, which conveniently concludes that it's really bad to go vegan and vegetarian if you want to have good mental health, this is the study that concludes conveniently that yes, you need to keep eating meat. You need cholesterol-containing foods, and giving those up is very dangerous for you. I wonder how they got this conclusion. So longtime viewers of our channel have seen me do this many times, go through studies which have some kind of startling conclusion like eating meat, dairy, or eggs is good for you or going vegan is really bad, only to find that the studies were funded by the meat industry, the dairy industry, or whatever. It was an industry-funded study paying for the conclusion that they want. And let's just for a second ignore who funded it, which is hard to do, but let's ignore that. The science, as I showed, really isn't all that convincing because the study's own authors said they cannot not make any causal claims based on the research here. Yet they seem to be making causal claims, saying, yeah, we need to keep eating meat and dairy and you shouldn't give up cholesterol. They're saying if you eat one thing, something else will happen. Furthermore, the reason why they make these studies, though, why the beef checkoff industry made this study, is because, like I said, they're a marketing agency and they know how to get these studies into the hands and in front of the eyes of the mainstream media. So they'll make these sensationalistic stories like I was showing at the beginning of this video, saying that, hey, don't go vegan, you got to eat meat if you want to have good mental health. They know how to manipulate the media is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, that's why I go through these studies and find out what's really going on and make these videos for you guys. So be sure to share this video, let people know that there's no causality. This study cannot claim that eating meat is good for your mental health or abstaining from meat is bad for your mental health, despite what you're seeing on the mainstream media. So let people know what the truth is. Share this video, like this video so YouTube will share this video for you, and let me know down in the comments what do you think about these industry funded studies, which conveniently somehow always magically find the conclusions that they're looking for. It's really wild, huh? So let me know what you think about that. Comment down below. And until next time, guys, let's keep it vegan.
In your mind again. You've got me spinning circles, spinning round and round, spinning till I'm dizzy, falling to the ground. You've got me spinning circles round